I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call to my right,
Dustin Doyle.
Andrew Greenwood,
Dave Cornell.
council business. David, you want to explain this one for the
Yeah, the
public?
interlocal agreement for violations bureau. Several years ago, when council set up the violations bureau to hear and enforce violations of ordinances, you have to have a court in order to do so. And since Bargersville doesn't have a city court, Franklin agreed to host, to be the venue for that. So this is just a renewal of that agreement for Franklin. They hear those cases. We've not had any that have had to go over there, but it's there, required by statute.
I'll make a motion to continue the interlocal agreement with Franklin City Court to hear violations bureau cases of Town of Bargersville.
Second. I have a motion by Mrs. Quall, a second by Mr. Doyle. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. 4-0. Next on the agenda is the Center Grove Soccer Club Memorandum of Understanding. Any questions and comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the Center Grove Soccer Club's memorandum of understanding
It could be to authorize.
to authorize
Authorize.
the signature president to sign.
Second. Motion by Mrs. Quall, second by Mr. Doyle. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. 4-0. Okay. We have ordinance 2022-11, amending portions of chapter 151 of the municipal code regarding building permits and certificates of occupancy. Mr. Seacrest.
So this one is, Andrew said, amending chapter 151, which is permits and certificates of occupancy. Primary purpose was to set a permit extension policy. We just proposed at 25% of the original permit cost, extended for 12 months. I did take the opportunity to go ahead and look at our certificate of occupancy program, which is in the same chapter. While I was touching that, might as well go ahead and do some other updates. Dave and I kind of went back and forth some red lines yesterday. I think we're on the same page with it.
I think we need to follow up on the seasonal. I owe you a call on that.
I guess we'll table this for the next meeting.
We should have it finalized this week, I would think, so we'll have it next week.
Okay.
If you,
Contingent.
Contingent on wordings.
no, never mind.
Okay, all right.
We'll bring it back for that. Thank you. Next up, we have the introduction of 2022-12, 2022-13, 2022-14, and adjusting the water rates, revising the rates and charges for use of services, Bargersville Electric, and adjusting the sewer rates and charges. Mr. Kim.
So these, good afternoon or evening. The ordinance is the introduction is for repeal of utility receipt tax. So this is a small tax that's built into the rate that goes back to the state. And the state has repealed this tax. So July 1, we are to repeal this. So this will start that process. And there is a small adjustment of the electric rate for some of our industrial customers also. So tonight is just an introduction. And at your next meeting, we hope to do a rate hearing or a rate public hearing and then hopefully action or approval. Sorry.
2022-15, authorizing an appropriation for funds. Mr. Stone?
Good evening, everyone. This ordinance was drafted out of discussions relative to the Kephart Park project. So your next item on your agenda is the bond proceeds and issuance that fund the majority of the project. There was a portion of this that was also contributed from local American Rescue funds. If you recall, last year when the U.S. Treasury provided those grants, they were over 2 tranches. There was half essentially recognized last year, half recognized this year. The appropriation that you have, the commitment to the park is $750,000. However, when we look at the actual fund balance, we're still waiting on phase 2 this year's distribution. So the reason it's not the full amount is because we're still waiting on the 2022 half of the overall allotment to be granted. Working with the Clerk Treasurer staff, specifically Laura, she helped us do some research. Look, it's essentially 12 months after the first distribution from the second, which would put us somewhere in late August, early September, I believe, as far as when we expect to receive the second half of the original distribution. At that time, we'll come back and look to do an additional appropriation for those remaining monies. The other item, and some language in the appropriation ordinance, the way that the actual claims are paid, they're paid from the Parks Non-Reverting Capital Fund. So you also see a transfer, some transfer language from the American Rescue Fund to the Park Non-Reverting Capital Fund, as well as essentially reappropriating that same amount to be paid from those. Okay, so it's not necessarily duplicated, but we have to budget it in 2 places in order to transfer it. So happy to take any questions that you may have relative to this. Good, thank you.
All right, now we have the first reading of ordinance 2022-16, approving issuance of bonds and financing the project of the Park and Recreation Board of the Park District.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt ordinance 2022-16.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mr. Doyle, a second by Mrs. Qualls. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Mr. President, I now move that we suspend the rules to consider the ordinance for adoption. Ordinance 2022-16.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, second by Mrs. Qualls. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Mr. President, after suspending that unanimous vote to suspend the rules, I move that we adopt ordinance 2022-16.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, second by Mrs. Qualls. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor? Aye. Shockingly, 4-0. All right. No second readings. Everyone have a chance to look at the meeting minutes from May 31st.
I'll make the motion to approve May 31st.
Second that. Motion by Mrs. Kowal, second by Mr. Rommel. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First item I have for your consideration tonight is the contract change order. This is the change order on Hagerman's contract. This includes the previous change orders that we have approved and increases the contingency and provides for Hagerman's fees per their previous contract.
So Julie, is this is just housekeeping to clean up the AIA contract
That is correct.
to match what we've already approved previously.
That is correct.
So the change is $23,596. And that's all been already, we've already approved all the change
You've
orders.
already approved 22,244 in change orders. Hagerman has their CM fee and then the insurance and the bond fee that are part of the contract. So this is essentially the contract cleanup.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the contract change order 967 for the police station.
Second.
I have a motion, Mr. Brunel, second by Mrs. Claus. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Next item I have is also police station related. I have provided some options for some exterior signage. This was not included as part of the original packet from Hagerman or Peterson.
So do we have the yard sign, is there an actual place to put that, or has it been established, or?
So we've, Kevin and I were out and looked at the site yesterday and today both. And I think we have a spot for it, but I'm not sure. I think we would want to elevate it a little bit. Right now, the spot where we are looking at is a little bit of a low point. So one of the, I asked the sign company to price just the building sign or both. And so I believe those are in the packets.
Are these signs backlit?
The building sign is not.
The monument sign is.
And we got conduit with it. So that's
Not it. It's an idea.
So taking that up.
We have so there's a street light that was just installed that we could run the conduit from that to this new ground sign. Relatively easily.
Do we need to get that down? Because I'm assuming that's coming from street side. So is anything in way?
It's actually right at the edge of the parking lot.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the zero sign change order 970.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Brunel, second by Mr. Doyle. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
And the last item I have on the agenda are the actual change orders for the police station project. So if you recall, the last time I was here, we discussed the parking lot, and we did not need to do the cement stabilization, so that has been removed from our change order list. However, we do have a new change order for undercuttings and subgrade. That is the first one. We had some conduit that was damaged as part of the excavation of the parking lot. And then the interview rooms needed switches for the microphones, and the basement corridor diffusers. That's the last change order.
So I'm gonna ask, why are we paying for conduit that needed to be repaired?
I'm more than happy to go back to them and ask that question if you'd like.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's never on there. So what are the microphone switches?
Those are for the interview rooms. and those were not included in the original electrical plans, and the detectives had asked for those to be included.
So what is Hagerman negotiating with Peterson?
So that one, there was an issue when they put the stair in originally, and the elevation was not, it wasn't corrected, so the stair had to be moved back after it was originally installed. So Hagerman is working with Peterson on that one.
Saying Peterson didn't go.
If there was a mistake in the drawing.
I don't know if I can prove it, you were not going to pay it or not. So
I think there's work to be done on all.
yeah, so
I think we approved the sign and we approved the other change order.
I agree.
Specifics of this, it sounds like there's 3 or 4 items that we need to go back to Hagerman on.
I will have Greg here at the next meeting. Thank you.
You're up.
Good evening again. Tonight, which is performance bonds and approval of the secondary plat for Morningside Section 7. They are proposing to post performance guarantees for the developer installing improvements in the section. So they have provided bonds for storm sewers, erosion control, sanitary sewer, curb streets, street surface, water distribution, public sidewalks, as well as monumentation and street signs. This allows that section to proceed with building permits prior to acceptance and testing of that building improvement.
We can do it, it's all as one, just individually ask for, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the secondary plat and acceptance performance bonds for section 7 of Morningside Subdivision.
Motion by Mrs. Walls, second by Mr. Doyle. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor? Aye.
Next item is a request to waive provisions of the subdivision control ordinance, as well as construction standards contained within the town's construction specifications. First request is to waive section 3.1D subdivision control ordinance, which requires connection to a sanitary sewer. All subdivisions, other waivers, standard detail TR11 and TR13 are regarding the required intersection of this subdivision. This is including passing blizzards, XLB7 lanes, sidewalks, traditional right-of-way improvements. I think those are outlined in your packet there. This is for the record, 3-lot subdivision on approximately 80 acres. In this area, this is close to Mount Run. I would, without having the map in front of me, I would say the 69 area.
Here's a Robert. Get back to the.
Turn around.
Yeah, it's about a half mile west of. Okay, Robert, that mile, yeah.
Mr. President, I would move to read. I will move to waive the provision of the subdivision and control ordinance on sewers.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, a second by Mrs. Claus. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. And so the second one for this is the right-of-way improvements and stuff like that. So
Correct.
this is 80 acres and 3 lots. Right. This one.
And if they wanted to change and make it additional lots, they would have to come back.
Yeah.
Correct. That would require additional subdivisions for our hearings.
Mr. President, I move to approve the waiver requests of the right-of-way waivers and all the stuff that goes on the roads, of the sub-control ordinance and construction standards.
I'll second all that stuff.
I have a motion by Mr. Doyle, and a second by Mrs. Claus. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Last item I had for tonight was the acceptance of a performance bond for right-of-way permit number 003-2022.
Any questions?
Come on, James, you haven't done it yet. Come on.
Okay, Mr. President, I will make the motion to approve performance bond numbers 969 003033-2022.
Motion by Mr. Mel. Second by Mr. Doyle. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
I just want to mention the memo we passed out last regular meeting regarding planning process fees. If you have comments, want to discuss that, in contact with me. I'm planning on bringing that to the planning commission at the next meeting.
Very good. Thanks, Joe.
The chief's on vacation. We have a
Time to shine right now.
Yeah.
You're up.
Filled in for Chief Bertram from Justin. Don't know what I'm doing, but I watched some videos before I showed up, so I'm gonna do my best to fill in, comparing the 2021 numbers to the 2022. There's really no abnormalities outside of an uptick in property damage accidents compared to this time last year. Dug into that a little bit, and no rhyme or reason. I'm assuming that our roads are being worked a little bit harder due to the construction on 37. People are trying to avoid that as much as possible. Kind of on a positive note, a 50% decrease in thefts compared to this time last year. 83. Those are small numbers, but that's good. And also, Dave Sparks, who's been a reserve with us since 2016, has been appointed reserve commander. So previously, Detective Zach Elliott was running the reserve program, which he did so for a very long time and did a great job and put the program into a position where a long-time reserve can kind of oversee the program, which is what a lot of agencies do. So now we're kind of where we need to be at with that, and I think Dave Sparks will do a great job. So that's all I have.
Do you think you could be Mr. Bertram on this?
Since he's not here, I'm gonna say hi.
Yeah, okay. Make sure you count.
Now, this is being recorded now.
Oh, yeah. But the audio is kind of.
Could be fuzzy.
We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Killinger. Come on. Before you start on Vactor truck, do you have any add-ons today?
Let's go first.
But you do not. Go ahead. So from now on, you have to ask when it comes up.
That's some items to hand out. So an update, at the last council meeting, there were, I shared before we do request, use of a back truck for water distribution. And had some questions about the old vehicle and whether or not we wanted to retain that and repurpose it, or is there some potential trade-in value? So tonight I'm here to update you that the vendor has offered $150,000 for this vehicle. We were to purchase the new vehicle. And I spoke with our street department, and there's a question about whether or not maybe it didn't fit from the older vehicle. The type of work they do, they felt like potential money that they might receive from this initial trade-in, and the fact that they don't jet storm lines on a consistent basis, that keeping the old vehicle and maintaining the old vehicle is probably not in our best interest. So my recommendation would be to trade this vehicle in and take that 150 and add it to the 60,000 or 68,000 that Enterprise had on for capital reduction. So now our capital price reduction would be $218,000, which lowers our payment down to $7,800 a month for 72 months. I know there's been some reservation potentially about the need in general of the vehicle. This older vehicle has a lot of history of, I guess, how it came about, how it was spec'd and purchased. After some research, this current vehicle is really not meant for hydro excavating for the water department. It's smaller, it's overweight. The materials that we're excavating are heavier than just wastewater. So having this vehicle within our operation is very beneficial to maintain miles of water distribution pipe that we have. I've been out there milling the guys. I'm on the receiving end of phone calls when our mains go down from our large customers asking, hey, we've got low pressure. And having a vehicle like this in our arsenal, and we have to repair these mains and put them in there versus relying on a contractor, I just feel we're large enough utility that we should have this. And I feel that we've done a lot of homework. Vermeer's been great with us. We've gone up there, they come down here. The guys have demoed this vehicle, so we've done quite a bit of research on this. And of course, with everything right now, costs are going up. So the chassis manufacturers and the folks that provide all the equipment for these vehicles, are predicting 2023 up to 9% increase. It's already had, I believe, a 20,000, 30,000 increase to today's market. So this project or this purchase was originally scheduled for 2023. I thought it was important to push this up and bring this to your attention. Here for questions from yours here. I got all the top folks here from Vermeer, the experts. This vehicle is different than the vehicle we have now as far as its ability to do what it needs to do. The one we have now is a different technology. It's really not meant for water excavating. So we're here for Q&A and get the council's thoughts and go from here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go.
I'm really not that smart, so it would help if you would explain what in the heck you're talking about. understand what you're saying. The one that we have now is meant for sanitary sewer, and you're asking for something for water, but if you could explain for everyone on here and everyone listening what this does and maybe what causes us to need this, maybe a little education there.
I'm sorry, just a big thing is, most like you said, Kevin, when you go out there and this truck doesn't do it, and we have to get somebody else, what kind of cost savings will this, that we want if we bring this on?
We'll cover the details of the apparatus and then we'll get into the dollars.
So there's more applications. So a jetter truck is one that has a reel in the front that you guys currently own. That's made for taking water, high gallons per minute pump, like 80 to 100 gallon per minute pump, and running the small jet line through your pipes to jet that material if there's a blockage or something like that in your pipe. It's a little bit of debris, but not a lot of debris. We're mostly just using the water to flow it out in small amounts. And then when it comes back to the manhole we're working at, we do use the hydro excavation part of it to back that material out. But 90 to 95% of it's the water that we're using to jet that material out. But there is some gravel and whatever was blocking that pipe, right? If it's just dirt or if it's an old tile, fill tile, things like that. So that's where the combination comes in. So it is a jetter and it is a hydro vac. And so we back out the water and the materials blocking that pipe. That is what jetting and that application is. That's what the truck was designed for, okay? Water is, weighs 8 pounds per gallon, right? The mud that we're talking about doing when you do a water main break, where you have to excavate the area, which is mostly soil, right? And rock and debris, that material can weigh up to 14 pounds per gallon. So it's a totally different application. Weight-wise, we talk about, speccing a truck, number one. Also, just the complexity of the blower style. That truck is running a fan style system, which is made to move liquids, not heavy materials, not deep, not rocks and things like that. So a PD blower, which is what they're looking at, would be able to go deeper. It has twice the CFM, so it can actually pull from further away, it can lift heavier amounts. It can handle that 14 pounds per gallon versus the simple 8 gallons per minute. It can still pull, the 8, like if you have a water main, you can still use it to just do mostly water. But anytime you want to find a water pit, a water meter, if you need to put in a new meter pit, you need to find a main like we did on our demo out there, that's mostly, dirt, rocks, and that heavy material. That's what that is designed for. So we're really talking about two totally different applications, two different totally trucks when it comes to that for sure. And then cost, you can, a lot of contractors, I don't know what you guys are paying, but they're anywhere from $200 some an hour up to $300 an hour. And there's usually a minimum of 1 day or half a day plus disposal.
Yeah, so right now, I think we're averaging about 24,000 a year that we pay for subcontractor come in.
How much?
24,000 a year. Our current vehicle we have now, we can't use during the winter times. As soon as we get into freezing weather, we have to park it. It doesn't have the proper heat equipment, so it's an automatic. We have to call the contractor. This vehicle is in the shop quite frequently, so that's why you see the cost for hiring that out. And as I mentioned before, this is a piece of equipment. As far as in rate of return on that investment, right? 24,000 a year, the numbers don't add up. But having this vehicle is really, it's not about saving money, but the vehicle's going to pay for itself in a couple of years. I don't think the numbers are going to work out.
How much usage is the current vehicle taking care of? So how many breaks? You have a total, you have a number to say, okay, we have 30 breaks a year and 10 of them are handled by the current one, but we can't handle 20 of them, so we're paying 24,000. That picture would help, I think, for everyone on here to understand, okay, here's what we're actually really spending. We have this old vehicle that takes care of 10%, 20%, 30% of the issues, and then we pay $2,000 every time we have to call somebody else out. Do you have that data or?
That data most likely is not there. Our new work order system will track things like that, but right now, if I were to look at a work order, it's probably not gonna dial down to whether or not I hired out SSI or the contractor versus our vehicle. So I'm not sure that data is gonna be there for me to go back the last couple of years. I could probably ask, and as far as talk to the guys and get their feeling, but I'm not sure I might have hard numbers that, hey, we used our truck 20% of the time and we had to hire out, the other 80. I'm not sure if I can grab that data.
So, and even so, the second question I would say, okay, so you basically can see that the cost makeup's not gonna be there.
Right.
No, so number two, if the cost makeup's not gonna be there, here's my second question. Our guys in the water, when we go out to fix runs, are they gonna be just as knowledgeable in this new truck as a contractor we're gonna bring in who does this all the time?
Yeah, with this vehicle and for the demo that we did, it's easier to use. It's probably easier to use than the contractor's vehicle is. It's obviously newer technology is better. It's faster. For restoring a main quickly and not waiting on a contractor, I think there's some benefit there.
And that was question 3. How long, so give me the best case scenario, worst case scenario for hiring a contractor when we got to make break.
So there's a lot of factors in that. Is it Monday through Friday? Is it the weekend? Is it holiday? Are they already out on a big job?
I'll say it's Christmas Day, Saturday.
I don't know. It's hard to commit. I don't know that.
Could they get out to that Monday or Sunday?
But we don't have that option. I mean, if we have a main break, let's just take 135. 135 is a critical pathway for our water heading up north. And this just happened a week ago. Contractor hit the main, and within minutes, my phone was going off with Kopetsky and Kroger and all these folks asking, where's the water? So we can't wait until Monday. I mean, it's got to be fixed then. So if the contractor,
Have we ever had an issue like that with a contractor? For 12 hours.
we've had an issue where we've had to call multiple contractors and find one to get there.
But they were always able to get there at some point. That was recent.
And there's, so with hydro excavating and then using the backhoe, hydro excavating is safer. So there's been times where we've had to use our backhoe with congested utilities, where we would prefer to use hydro excavating to be gentle around gas mains and power and all that. So there's probably times that we've asked for a Vactor and we couldn't get one, or it's in the winter time when ours is can't operate. We made it happen, we got it done. So,
One thing I know about hydro excavation, it is very accurate. A lot of foundation companies, when you can't get backhoe in there, you can come back, they come and bring an SSI or hydro excavator in. When you have a main break, how many guys have to sit there on overtime until they get there?
usually minimum we have 3 guys.
So you got 3 guys, so it's not really what we pay the contractors. We still have all men on deck, probably overtime, sitting there waiting for the contractor to get there too. So it's probably a lot more than that.
It's all about, you have an incident, we go to our shop, we get our equipment, and we'll fix it. And this allows us to do that. I mean, we've done really great as far as other equipment, just purchased a dump truck, sanitary data back truck. I know that's, had some history with that, right? But that piece of equipment has been very beneficial. The power outage we had just a few days ago, they had to use that back truck to back up the lift station that didn't have power. So these trucks and this equipment is crucial for us.
Will we own this with 72 months or residual? And we'll own it.
Well,
It's $1 buyout. Or
and it's, a 50 with good maintenance and a good vendor. This is a 15+ year asset.
Where do you anticipate storing this?
We'll store it in the maintenance facility west of the office area. We do have long-term plans with that site, right, for bigger building and so forth. But we have room for this one. It'll be tight, but I've confirmed that we can get it inside. During the winter time, it can be plugged in and it has a recirculation pump on it to keep everything, thawed out or, above freezing. So,
What other equipment, cameras, do you anticipate that we may need in the future for this to do your jobs?
Good question. No cameras for this vehicle. We've worked with the vendor and enterprise to make sure that it meets our new spec for safety equipment, warning lights, areas of traffic cones. Like we've tried to think about everything that we need for this. But no cameras are anticipated.
Is there any other little software, anything else that you're gonna need, little extra gizmos or gadgets on the end of the hoses or?
No.
Just stuff. And then, will this help in any way stormwater?
Yeah, so it can still hydro excavate. So let's say they're sucking a catch basin or they need to expose a storm pipe. It can be used for that. It also has the ability to attach a different nozzle on the end of kind of like a pressure hose nozzle. If they had to jet something light, this truck could do that. So that was one of the items. Trading in this other one has a much bigger hose reel and it's meant for jetting. So this one will do a little bit, but if it's not able to do what they need, they can contract out to another company that can come in and do that, which I've been told that we don't do that very often. So I'll be able to manage that.
That was my last question. So you were saying that this was in the budget for next year?
Yes.
So here's one.
We plan on paying that out of bond funds or out of our normal operating budget, out of cash.
Local funds. If there were to be a motion, we would need a motion to allow the capital price reduction cost of $218,000 for county to cut a check enterprise for that. And then we will factor in these payments for the rest of the year and obviously so on.
How many times a year do we have a rate or something that for this we could use? Just estimate one thing.
A couple times a month. So, and it's not just main breaks. A lot of their saddles for service lines and meter pits. We're identifying hydrants that need replaced in older subdivisions where this will allow us to back down to the base of the hydrant and allow us to replace versus sending that out to a contractor. So. No, but in 23, I mean, we're going to evaluate our staffing, water distribution, but no.
But we have people on staff that can operate this.
Right, and we'll have training, extensive training when it's brought in.
Does it require CDL?
It does.
We have that.
We're actually, even myself, are going through the CDL classes as we speak. We have a test coming up for the walk around. I'm excited about that. So yes, we have current staff that do have their Class B CDL license, and then we've got a handful of others that are also going forward. So should have that covered.
What did you say about the 218? If we approve this, where does that need to come from?
But we just need to authorize for accounting to be able to cut a check. So we just make sure that they have the clearance to cut a check.
Okay, so it's not a specific.
No.
It's just general fund. Yeah.
Not general, we could take it out of general fund. Julie shake your head.
Oh, well, I mean,
Yeah,
your
operating.
Out of the water, out of the water.
water fund, not
Water.
town fund. I hate to sit here long. Next year, this comes back up again, it's 750,000. It's in the- That's the only.
Yeah.
Just my name's Craig. Been with the mayor since 1991. The one thing I did want to point out, if you guys agree that hydro excavation is going to continue to work and be enhanced in his district. When you think of the debris tank itself, when you're sewer jetting, cleaning, you're taking that debris into a tank. And hydro excavation, as we explained, is completely different. It's almost twice the weight. So when you look at this vehicle, the debris tank is completely different. It's larger, and your vehicle now has a smaller tank and has one axle in the back. So this unit has two axles and a drop axle as well. So from a legal standpoint on hauling, the heavier debris through hydro excavation to be road legal, that's a very important factor to think through. And there would be limitations if you're going to do a lot of hydro excavation with your current machine, to make sure that axle is not, under duress.
I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the purchase of the new vac truck, the amount of $635,449.20 to be capitalized over a 72-month lease with an appropriation of $218,000 cut from the water.
Motion by Mr. Doyle,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Romell. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you for nothing. Thank you for the hard work. Any other questions for me on anything? You may be seated. Board updates. It's Flag Day, so celebrate the Old Glory.
You mind if I ask for this? Stop that.
And farmer's market tomorrow night.
From 5 to 8.
It'll be nice and cold. Yeah. Anybody have anything else? Oh, and then we will, at our last meeting of the month, we will decide, we will be canceling the July 12th meeting and rescheduling it. And we'll announce that at our next meeting. For those of you keeping score at home. If there's anything else, I will entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second. So moved.